Hello, this is Bee with Stitchy Witchy Bee. My pronouns are she, her, and we're going to get pretty much right into this. I think there's going to be a couple of moments where I will start to ramble. I don't have a ton to talk about, but when I ramble, I might. So we're just going to hop right into it. I've got my coffee, I've got some drinks. I'm trying something a little bit different with the lighting setup. I'm hoping it will help. I'm also not using the headset I was using. It was catching a little bit too much of just my breathing, random nose whistling that I didn't even realize I did. So we're just avoiding all of that right now. We're not going to worry about that. There will be some crinkling of paper or plastic because I use Ziploc bags for most of my projects. I will hopefully keep that to a minimum, but no promises. Let's hop into it. Last month, I started filming toward the very end, or a little bit before the end of the month. So I'm going to give just some basic stats on how August ended. It was the first month that I'd ever tracked how many stitches I was doing. I did 16,521 stitches by the end of the month. And I initially had expected September to be less. I had a pretty busy month going on. But in fact, with 2 days left of the month, I don't know if I said, it is Sunday the 29th of September when I'm filming this. Hopefully I will have it edited and posted tonight, but we'll see. So far this month, I have 17,694 stitches, so even more than August. Despite thinking I was going to have less because it was a very busy month for me. This month I have 6 new starts. Not proud of that number, but it is what it is. And 4 ongoing whips for a total of 10 projects. We are going to hop right into it. Most of this is going to be just in alphabetical order. That seemed easiest. We'll see if I'm able to keep up with that as I'm going through everything, and I tried to have everything ready, but then right before starting I began just tossing things around willy-nilly. So the first project we're going to talk about is Autumn is as Joyful by Lila's Studio. This one I actually have a little bit of a story about. So I initially started this too early. I got too excited. I was thrilled about it. I really wanted to hop in and work on the project. Because I love the pattern, loved the colors. I went with the... I can't remember if this was provided or if I think I did this. Full fancy floss conversion of everything. Just as a treat to myself, because it was right around my birthday that I was initially getting, or for my birthday that I was getting a lot of the floss. And I started it on 20 count Cocoa by Fiber on a Whim. Got started on it, was very excited. Let me move my coffee, it's right in the way. I was very excited. I loved the colors, the way it was looking. And then as I was working on it, I thought, this doesn't seem like there's nearly enough room. I used my fabric, I cut it to the dimensions that were provided, but it just really did not seem like there was going to be enough space for the full pattern, because this was only supposed to be the very center of the acorn. And I will put a full picture of what it's supposed to look like. So I revisited, thought about it, realized that I was starting it way too early in the first place. So I kind of just put a pin in it, stopped that, went ahead, restarted it at the expected time, which was the first day of fall. I am still doing it on 20 count Cocoa, but I thought it was really interesting. The colors ended up looking pretty different in the fabric. I don't know how much that's going to come across. I'm hoping this is between the natural light, overhead light, ring light off to this side, that it'll be picking up the light correctly. Just for funsies, let me... I don't know, but this one seems to have a little bit more green. It's a bit cooler. The one I ended up doing it on is warmer, more kind of purpley brown. I like both. The floss looked great on both. I'm not upset about it, but it did interest me that even though they are both 20 count cocoa by Fiber on a Whim, there was some difference there. Okay, let's see. I'm going to have to probably do this in sections to show it all. So I ended up starting, I did not cut my fabric down first this time. I was like, I'm not risking that again. So I went ahead and started in the top left because I stitch in hand and I'm a lefty. So I followed this side the whole way down to the bottom corner. I will come in later and fill in these motifs, but I wanted to just find out what the actual contours of the piece were first. Made my way all the way over. So this is the top left corner. So now I know where my edges are roughly. So I was able to cut down the fabric accordingly. And I will fill in these motifs that are empty first, and then get started in the actual, continuing to come down the sides along the bottom and then fill in the middle from there. The middle is the part that I'm the most excited about, so that'll be kind of good and fun to do. My stats on this so far, what day did I start it? I didn't write that part down. I tried to catch most of the information, but... Oh, no, I started it the first day of fall. What am I talking about? So I think the actual start time was September 22nd. And I did 3,131 stitches this month. I got to 11.68%. There are about, I think, 26,000 stitches in this, almost 27. If I'm reading my handwriting correctly, I might not be. It might be 16. Truly, it is a mystery. My handwriting is horrible. The second project that I started, again, not in necessarily time order, but it's alphabetical just because that's how my spreadsheet turns out, was Autumn is as... No, this one is Dark Golden Delicious by the Artsy Housewife. And it was another one where I got started and I just could not stop, did not want to stop. Apologies. I am making sure nothing gets separated. It was another one, like I said, where I got into it and I didn't want to stop. This one I started in the top left, which is when I realized I think the top right is going to be better for me, just based on, again, the fact that I'm left-handed and I don't want to be fighting with a huge section of floss, particularly. This one is being done on 18 count bedrock by Bestitch Me. Again, hopefully it is capturing how beautiful this fabric is with this. I'll make an attempt. No. I think this might be the truest color. So at this point I've done the full side of this, kind of top to bottom. This is the bottom of the piece. This border will come across here because there's another section of motifs like this along this part of the bottom. Something similar to this along the side. The only color that wasn't showing up well on this, so I don't know if I might sub it out. I don't think I will, because in person it's showing up a lot better, is Avocado. Is it in person? It's showing up great. I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera at the moment. I can't fully see. But in person, it's great. I don't know that I'll need to do anything with that. Worst case, I can sub it out. I haven't done too much in that color. I think there's a little bit over here, and then this motif. There will be a lot more of it along here, so I might do a couple more of these kind of floral motifs here just to see, does it stand out? Does it completely fade in? We'll go from there. Bedrock is beautiful. I'm loving it. I'm definitely finding that 18 count is my happy space for the fabric size. That 18 and 20 count, those are wonderful for me. And Ada is definitely my preference, first and foremost. We'll get to some realizations I had about linen here shortly, but and this is, both of these are 1/1. Didn't mention that before, I apologize. And this is the fancy floss conversion that was provided by the Artsy Housewife on the pattern. I did go ahead and do that. It got it at the same time as the fancy floss for Autumn is as Joyful. But I'm loving stitching this. Same thing. By the time I got done with these motifs, like just doing the outline of them, I was done with them for a while. I will probably do the motifs on the bottom border last, just to give myself a little breathing room from them. They're wonderful. They're very simple to do, but I was just at that point I was just kind of done with them. Again, pardon me while I try not to hum Incubus lyrics. Okay. Now, technically, I started this at the very tail end of last month, but I think it was between, oh, that was loud, my last video and this one. So even though I didn't put any stitches in this, oh, I forgot that part, sorry. For Dark Golden Delicious, I did 3,876 stitches. I am 23.63% out of a total of 13,500 and some stitches. This one I did not work on in the month of September, but again, like I said, I started this one at the tail end of last month. So this is Halloween Quaker, also by Lila's Studio. I'm doing this on 18 count plum, which now I might need to mess with the lighting because what little I can tell, I don't think this is coming across as well as it should, because it's a very dark, no, it's just not going to. It's a very dark, rich, beautiful purple. And I didn't get as much on this as I wanted to. I think I did get distracted pretty quickly by a couple other things, but I definitely want to make some really good progress on this in October for obvious reasons. I messed up somewhere in the witch's shoulders and head. In theory, I could fudge it, but I'm so annoyed by whatever was going on with that that I definitely will need to frog it. She looks weird. And I just haven't had the energy to do that. But I am doing the provided fancy floss conversion on this one as well. Like I said, this is 18 count plum by Fiber on a Whim. I got 2,289 stitches by the end of August, putting me at 12.72%. And there's just under 18,000 stitches total on this piece. I am very much looking forward to getting more of it done. The colors for this are beautiful. Very, very fun. But to be honest, I think the moment I started Dark Golden Delicious, like that put me in a chokehold. There were a couple days where I got 1,000 or around 1,000 stitches on it. I just didn't want to stop. Next is a start and finish that I've somehow managed, despite... Oh, there he is. Trying to be careful, displaced. Found him. Now, this little guy is a squonk. I do know where the center of this is, I swear. This is a squonk. Squonks are cryptids that I believe are in Pennsylvania. They are small, moist creatures. They're terrified of people. If they're constantly crying, if they are discovered, they will disappear into a puddle of their own tears, which is what's going on down here. I love them. They're just scrungly little guys. Every single one of them. This pattern is by the Witchy Stitcher. They provided, as part of their Patreon, they released a bunch of, or re-released a bunch of patterns, like, quote unquote, from the graveyard. And all you needed to do was donate to a charity of your choice, and you would get access to a whole bunch of patterns. There was a series of 5 that went with the Squonk, specifically just for that. I will be doing 4 of the 5. One of them is literally just the Squonk itself, the Puddle of Tears, and I think, like, I am a Squonk or I am the Squonk underneath it. There's this one with the border. There's one that has 3 sides of a border and then a motif above. There's one with a tree, like forest background, and then one with a crying cloud. I will be doing all of them. This is my effort to try to get over my own weird mental blocks with linen. When I'm working on it, I'm not having any problems. It's lovely. It's fine. Everything is fantastic. If I'm not actively, like, in the middle of stitching on it, I get into my own head about it. I don't know what it is. I need to get over it. So I figured these are some really nice small projects. There's a couple of others from that same batch, from the graveyard that the Witchy Stitcher did, that I want to also do, all on linen. I've already kind of figured out which ones, because I'd purchased at one point, I had a gift card, so I did some of those, like, little $5 to $8 small pieces of a few different fabrics. One, because I wanted to see what they look like in person, so I would know, will this work for XYZ project? And 2, just to try out a couple of things. Like, I have a piece of 36 count, which I at one point was like, oh, I don't know if I could ever do that. I even have a 40 count. Again, don't know if I will ever do anything sizable on those, but this at least gives me the chance to try. This particular version of the Squonk is on 28 count Meyer by Picture This Plus. I love it. It's beautiful. I did just random floss. It's all over the place. It's 1/1 except for the black border, which is, 1/2. So sorry, which is 2/2 to make it stand out a little bit more. I'm not sure if a Squonk will be the next small project I do. We'll see. This one was 922 stitches total. Like I said, they're very, very good size, very small, very manageable. I think I only spent 3 days total stitching on this. It was genuinely wonderful. And I think what I might do is get one of those, like, really simple frames where it's got, like, 3 or 4 small spots for photos in it, and just kind of do those, a few of these Squonks all together like that. Another start I did was for the Make It Murder stitch along that was being done, or is being done, by Cross Stitch the Globe. And I believe it's Allison at the moment. I will put that nearby. To make sure it's included. I kind of went a little ridiculous with this. Most people are choosing, fairly small stitch-alongs, or fairly small patterns, and they are doing something in some way to, quote-unquote, make it murder. So they'll do a lot of, like, for example, some people are doing tiny towns, and they're putting, like, little things in there to make them into murder scenes. Allison is doing, I think, Seaside Tiny Town, making it look like Miami in terms of colors, and putting some references to the show Dexter, for example. Stuff like that. And I knew I was interested in the stitch along, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do until I found this pattern by Tinsel Cross Stitch. It's just a Victorian house. And no matter what, I knew I wanted to do this Victorian house. It's absolutely lovely. I'll put a picture of the actual pattern here. But I knew no matter what, even if I didn't use it for this stitch along, I would want to change the colors because pink is just, it's not me. If that wasn't already readily apparent. So I already knew I was going to probably do some color changes, but I was like, it would be so easy and so much fun to do little things to make this, like put some crime scene tape across the door, put like a little mound of dirt and a shovel over in the kind of garden area next to the house. It's already got a black cat. There's already something kind of in one of these windows where I could easily just change this into a shadow. Like there's little things that could easily be done to make this into a questionable, like former crime scene, now just dilapidated house. The problem is it's a very large pattern. It is quite large. I will probably not be doing any, again, on the actual reference photo. I will do an example of the mock-up that I have with the color changes. These are very hectic. I'll probably be doing some refining as I'm actually going in. And none of the little changes of like crime scene tape, none of that's in here. I will have to do that by hand. I don't know. A little nervous about it, but we'll get there. But I will probably not be doing any of the blue for the sky. I'll be doing just enough of the background woods. I'll save that for last to see how much I can get done, because I believe the stitch along goes through January, or at least into January, and then everyone's going to get together on a Zoom meeting and kind of show what they've done. But this is still a big project. Full, it is 32,000 stitches. So I'm hoping to cut out probably a good, I think just removing the sky alone was like 2,000 stitches out, no longer needed. So I am hoping to get it closer to like 26, 27. It's still a lot, but that's a bit more manageable. So far, all I have done on it, I definitely need to make some sizable progress on this. So I'm fighting with, I haven't cut down this material yet, so there's a lot of it. This is all I have so far. I'm just trying to get the dirt on the ground to help me find out exactly where my edges are. This is almost halfway across the bottom of the pattern, so that gives me a pretty good idea of, you know, how much further I need to go with it. If this is halfway, it would go out to about here-ish, and then a little bit of a border, but I want to make sure of that before I do any trimming. Again, the incident with Autumn is as Joyful has made me extremely paranoid, as it does. And I think that's, you know, usually it takes something like that before you learn the hard way. This one, I'm doing it on 18 count Mirage by Picture This Plus. I only have 703 stitches in, 2.18% again of the full total. So ideally this will be a bit more manageable. I think next I'll be starting in on the kind of some of these columns and stuff for the loose fence. I'm not sure if it is actually a fence that's going on leading up to the porch. And then I'll be able to actually hop into the house itself, which I'm very excited about. Last start was my birthday start, and it was Witches Going to Their Sabbath. The charting is done by Gallery Stitches, or Gallery Stitching. I can't read my own handwriting. The artwork is by Ricardo Falero. This is one of my favorite paintings. There it is. It is a very large piece. It is full coverage. This will take me a very long time, and I'm fine with that. Apologies again about the plastic rustling noises. I am doing this on 18 count Silver Moon Zweigart, 1/1, as pretty much all of these are. I did 1,178 stitches. I am at 0.41%. This will be a total of 286,000 stitches, almost 287. So there's a lot of fabric here. I'm just going to get the parts I need. Why is there already a stain on this? I've been so careful. But apparently not careful enough. Okay. There's just so much fabric. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to have to fight with it. But, so this is, I'm trying to do the central page first. There's truly so much fabric. So this is the central witch's arm coming down. This color is showing up incredibly dark. I might need to come back in and change it. Right now I'm trusting the process. I'm not going to fight it too much. We'll get this full first page done before doing anything else. Right now I'm doing a bunch of this white background, so it's very hard to see, but or off-white maybe. I had hoped initially to get this full first page done by the end of the month, and I got completely caught up in a couple others. It didn't happen. I am still hoping to get that by the end of October, though. I do think it's doable. Like, there's quite a bit to it, but it's not impossible, because again, there are some chunks here where there's a good section of all one color without too much confetti. The biggest difficulty I'm having with this is I use Pattern Keeper for pretty much everything. I'm not super confident with paper patterns. It's how I initially learned, but it's not my favorite. I have some kind of dyslexia, so to speak, with swapping symbols and just having a hard time like really differentiating, okay, this is where the symbol is, this is where this one is, which Pattern Keeper helps with because it'll highlight all of the symbol you're working on and make it incredibly easy to see, which is ideal. I have it in Pattern Keeper, but it didn't load in correctly. I'm not able to highlight specific symbols. It's just everything is flat, so to speak. So it's something, it's just not ideal. And I've thought about trying to put it into markup, but I don't currently have a subscription to that, and I just didn't want to spend money on it, not knowing if it would even load in correctly there, I guess. So I've just kind of, I'll only show a small portion of this, but I'm using a mix of what I do have for Pattern Keeper and then just a printout to help me make sure I'm at the right areas. And then my current rough ideas, are to do the pages going out to the left or right, either way, just to get the contours there, and then either up or down, and probably end up doing like a little bit of a cross and then filling out the corners from there. But that's it for new starts. For works in progress or whips, things that I had already started before and just kept working on, we've got All Hallows Bat. This is one I ideally would have this done by the end of the calendar year. I don't know for certain that that's going to happen, but that's kind of the goal. I'll have a picture of where I was before, but I finished out this little guy. He's adorable and precious. I love everything about him. I'm doing this, I think, with the called for. I might have swapped in a little bit from Stash, just trying to find something that was really similar. He is being done on 18 count Dark and Stormy by Witch's Garden Crafts. The pattern is by the Witchy Stitcher. I did 933 stitches on him. He has, putting me at a total of 42.89%. I think I did forget to put down how many total stitches he has, but there's a very pretty border going around, a little bit more down here. I am subbing in, instead of a traditional etoile, I have, and I've talked about this in past videos, but if this is your first time here, hello. I have this Rico Designs metallic thread. It's absolutely beautiful. I love everything about it. Hopefully it was loading it or showing it correctly. And I just do this. So this is 2/1. I just add this with my 2 strands. It's so thin that it doesn't really add any bulk, but it adds that nice kind of sparkle. You can see a little bit, hopefully, in the words. Hopefully, maybe, possibly. Like I said, I am hoping to finish him by the end of the year. We'll see if that actually ends up happening. He isn't that big of a pattern, so in theory it should be easily possible. It's just, we'll see. Then I worked a lot on a pattern that I'm ultimately hoping to give as a gift for Christmas this year, to my mother. We'll see if it ends up happening. This, like, it's a beautiful pattern. I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying it maybe 85% of the time. The rest of it, I don't even know what's happening, but I'm fighting for my life out here. So this is Merry Christmas by Tinsel Cross Stitch. I'm doing this on 20 count stone by Fiber on a Whim, using just some random blue silks from Amazon that I was given. So this is kind of the middle color. There's a lighter blue and then a darker blue. I don't know how much variance the darker blue will actually have when I'm doing it 1/1 like this. We'll see. The issues I'm having. So the pattern, lovely, wonderful, 10 out of 10. The fabric, wonderful, 10 out of 10. The floss looks so beautiful. The silk looks so beautiful. And generally speaking, it's very nice. But it's so slippery. It's constantly slipping out of the eye of the needle. Like, I don't even have to be close to the end of it. It'll just slip right on out of there. It's driving me crazy. Sometimes it'll be super easy to rethread. Sometimes it'll fight me every second for no reason. Other times I'll just be trying to pull, the next little strand from the little section I have, and everything will catch on everything. I'm finding like rough bits on my cuticles that I didn't even know I had when I'm just fighting for my life with this. I was having some issues where, so I don't have a sewing machine, so I don't have any way to whip stitch or serge or anything like that, the edges on this. And because I did trim down here, it was fraying a lot. That was the only issue I've been having with this cloth. So at first I just put some washi tape to try to hold it together. Well, the washi tape kept sliding off. Like, I was, it's just little tiny things, but they were just driving me absolutely batty. So I finally just whip stitched that into place to hold it there. So far, so good, but I don't know. I've done some rough counting. I should be fine for the bottom section. It'll be very tight, but I should be fine. Should be fine. Because I just finished yesterday, actually, just getting this whole central section done. So now what's left is some motifs here, the words Merry Christmas, and there is a little bit of leeway. I can kind of bump those up a little bit if I want or need to. Then there's, I think, 5 or 6 different Quaker motifs here, a bunch of snowflakes, Santa and his reindeer, which is going to be a little bit interesting. So I'm giving this to my mom. And I cut this section out of last month's video, because I wasn't describing it very well. Last month I was just very head empty. Like, nothing was clicking properly. I was unable to find basic words. It was I was having a time. So I was raised, and she was raised as part of a Protestant church, where Santa is not recognized. So Christmas was always very different for us from what I would see in media, from what my friends would talk about. We would, gosh, I tried to reduce that. I'm so sorry. We would usually celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. We would never do it Christmas morning because that was too tied in with Santa bringing presents. it took focus away from God and Jesus Christ was the idea. So you did not do anything that even sniffed too strongly of Santa, because that just wasn't going to fly. So we didn't like bake cookies together to leave out for Santa. We didn't do... All of the decorating would be done before we even got there. So we'd usually have it at my grandma's house. But even if it was at home, it was never like this big, oh, get the whole family together to decorate. It was never like that. It was almost businesslike. Like, you got in, you did your stuff, you had Christmas dinner, you opened presents, and then everyone left. And it was just... So Christmas has never been something that I've been like, oh, I have so many, like, I have wonderful memories, but they aren't the same types of memories that I hear a lot of my friends talking about, that I heard a lot about growing up. So there is a little part of me that's like, I hope this hits right, because as my mom has gotten older, she has gotten very heavily back into religion. I stepped away from it a long time ago, for many reasons, but she is still deeply, deeply religious, and she has fully kind of tossed herself back in. I'm guessing it's a mix of she's getting older, there have been some health concerns. This is providing her a great deal of peace, and I fully respect that. I'm very happy that she's finding peace in these uncertain times. I do a little bit wish it wasn't throwing herself back into a borderline fundamentalist evangelical situation, but she's happy. That's ultimately, I'm here to support her. Ultimately, that's where we are. But I'm hoping that the fact that this has Santa on it isn't going to be an issue. In theory, I could just figure something else out, but I've already done that. I could make it work if I needed to. It's fine. Long ramble. But that's also why there will be a handful of Christmas related things or holiday related things as we get into December, but there won't be a ton. It's never been a huge thing for me. It is hilarious that Halloween is, because we were technically not supposed to celebrate that either. And hilariously, my mom did not fight me on my love for that, and I'm very much grateful for it. But she was always like, never talk about going trick-or-treating when we're at church. And I was like, okay. Don't understand why, but all right. I did eventually understand why, but still silly. The stats on that... in September, I did 2,895 stitches, putting me at 26.89%. There's about 15,500 stitches total. Like I said, I'll be doing a lighter color up at the top and a darker color at bottom, which I will be starting on soon. I'm going to take a couple of days as a break just to step away from that for a moment, because by the end, it was just kind of driving me crazy. But I have quite a few stitches I need to do each month in order to finish by Christmas. So we'll see how all that goes. After that, I did plants in Petrichor. I am fully caught up, which I am very, very happy to say. I wasn't sure if I would be, to be perfectly honest. And this is where I realized just how much in my own head I get about linen. Sorry, probably could have ironed this. I actually did get the iron out. I haven't tested it on something that has actual stitches on it yet. I probably should have, because I stitch in hand, I roll everything like a little tortilla. I wasn't sure if I would get fully caught up, because I was waiting until some of these motifs had come in before I did like the picture frame here, this part of this bench, table, desk, whatever exactly this is. Because again, I get way into my own head about linen. I didn't want to count that far away from things, but thankfully with the last two releases, one of them being this, one of them being this blanket, I think. I just realized it's probably for a cattail, and I'm very excited. I think that's the next section as well, maybe. But with these, I was able to actually add in the rest of the frames that I hadn't gotten done yet. This is being done on 28 count coconut shell, which is stunning with these colors. Like, I'm very happy with the choice. But I initially kind of stalled out. I'd gotten most of, not even all of it, but I'd gotten most of the window frame done. And psyched myself out. Got way into my own head about it. Stopped working on it for quite a while. And I was like, no, I just need to put on my big girl pants, get back into this. It's not a problem. And it wasn't. That day that I got back into it, I did like 900 stitches just that day. I was flying through it. I finished out everything for the window. I did, I think, a couple of these shelves nearby. I think just these two, because they were the easiest to find based on everything else that was going on. And I think by that point, everything for this window had been sent out. So for the month of September, I ended up doing 3,613 stitches, putting me fully current. I made sure to get this cut up with Friday's release, which was this section, to get that done in time for the video. There are a total of 12 plantings, is how she's terming them. We're done with 5 now. This is the 5th one. So we'll be able to keep up with it. One thing I love about Fine Frog Stitching, which I forgot to say that's who the pattern is by, is their releases are nice and bite-sized. They're usually only a couple hundred stitches at most. So it's easy to get to stay with it each week as long as you are caught up when they start coming out. Love their patterns. I did their Femurs and Fungi. Loved it desperately. I will be doing every stitch along that they do going forward because they're just so beautiful. I'm having a hard time getting it in there. Then there's only one other that I worked on, and I honestly kind of forgot that I worked on it at one point because it was at the very beginning of the month, I think. This is one that I have a very hard time capturing on video. It does not want to show properly, so I might play around with the lighting again on this one just to see if we can get it there. This is the Quaker Nature Sampler, also by Tinsel Cross Stitch. I didn't realize exactly how much of a fangirl I was of them. What is happening? Is there anything obnoxious again? Perpetually, always. This is being done on 18 Count Blush by Witch's Garden Crafts. The floss is Bog Witch by Pirate and Robin. And I absolutely love it. I will show where I was last month. It's this beautiful, like, blushy pink. Like, it's stunningly beautiful, and it is just not wanting to show up correctly. Does that help a little? Maybe? Like, I still think it's showing up way more coral than it is in actuality. And the floss is this really beautiful dark green, almost some kind of like navy blues when it gets even darker. It's very subtle, but wonderful. I think I finished out this motif here, did a bit more, I think maybe did the numbers, and finished out these birds. Like, I did quite a bit on this, it feels like. Even though says I only did 538 stitches. I am at a total of 16.59% of the full piece. And it should fit easily on this piece of fabric that I have. With a good size border that I usually am not super aggressive about making sure I have, but I think we'll be good with that. And that is it for works in progress or whips. I'm going to do a little bit about my October plans. I've kind of narrowed down which specific projects I really want to work on for the month. Quote unquote narrowed it down. I have so many whips that narrowing it down puts me at like 30 options to go through. I won't try to touch all of them. I'm just only going to be pulling from that batch. But there are a couple of focus pieces, and I will put where I was previously on the screen here for those. All Hallows Bat, I want to get some more done on him. I don't know exactly how much I want to get done, but like I said on that, I am 42.89%. There's just under 3,000 stitches total. I did find where I wrote that down, thankfully. I want to work on Black Cat Spell. I'd mentioned previously, like, I cut the fabric correctly, but I started it the wrong orientation, so it isn't going to fit properly. I have some rough plans on what I want to do for that. I just need to figure out exactly how to make it happen. But I think there's another section in the middle that I can do even before I get that figured out. I want to work on Salem in Memoriam. I am 33.44% done on that. It is about 2,700 stitches total. Here's where I had gotten to before. Like, it feels like I'm pretty far through, but I know there's a lot that goes around the headstone. So that will be quite a bit of the piece. Spooky Halloween sampler, I did the bare minimum to get it started. I have 114 stitches in on it, out of just over 4,000. So I'm only 2.81%. So I absolutely want to make progress on that. 'Tis the season to be spooky. I'd gotten a lot of progress done on this during the Midsummer Stitch event that was going on. But I'm still only 57.86%. I think I dramatically underestimated how many stitches were in spooky. Once I get that done, it will be very close to being finished. But that has just over 2,500 stitches in it. I want to make more progress on vampire, or as I've reworded it, vampiress. I am 25.35% currently on that. It has a little over 4,000 stitches total, so I'd like to make more progress there. And then Wouldst Thou Like to Live Deliciously? I am 46.58% there, and it is just under 5,000 stitches total, so I want to make some good progress on it. I'm using mostly 310 or black in that, with a little bit more of that metallic Rico design thread and a few random bits here and there, and bringing in 816, which is a garnet. I can't remember exactly which shade of garnet, but it's 816 for pops of color here and there. So those are the focus pieces that I absolutely want to touch at minimum in the month of October. And then I'll have a few others that are very like witchy Halloween related. I'm focusing heavily on those, with the caveat that I am still allowed to work on Autumn is as Joyful and Dark Golden Delicious because they're fall-ish. I justify it. That's ultimately what it is. I justify it. Then I'll make sure to have chapters in here, so if people just want to jump to this part, they can. I mentioned in my Instagram post, letting people know that I was going to be putting out a video this weekend, that I had tried my hand at coffee and tea dyeing. And I went at it very chaotically, very just effing around and trying and finding out, right? Seeing what happens. Before I show what I've got, I want to do a small disclaimer. I do not have a working oven at the moment. So the only heat that was ever introduced at any stage on any of this was from, hot tea or hot coffee being poured onto the Ada. This was all scraps of 14 count Ada that I had found that I was like, I don't have any strong attachment to this. Let's just try this out and see what happens. I tried 3 different methods, and within those methods, there were a couple different times where like it was piping hot versus still warm, but not hot when I added new bits of fabric, and that absolutely affected the saturation. I did try to, or prior to coffee and tea dyeing, I did rinse the fabric in hot water to try to remove any of the starches or whatever is on there. I've heard that's a thing that needs to be done. And I did soak them in fabric softener because they were crunchy. They were, you could injure somebody or yourself with them. Like the edges, it was just so stiff. So I did run them through fabric softener first, let them fully rinse out the fabric softener, let them dry. Then tried the coffee and tea dyeing. Let them dry, rinse them one more time. After the coffee tea dyeing, run them underwater to try to get excess out. Let them air dry fully. rinse them one more time just to make sure, let them air dry fully, and then I didn't touch them for weeks, which actually helped because coming back to them, I do like some of them more with a little bit of time. There's a couple of them where I'm just like, it just looks dirty. Like, not artfully dirty, like a lot of XJU design stuff does, where, you know, like grandma's slip, grandpa's sleeve. Those look artfully dirty. These just looked dirty. They do come across better for me now, but they are still just... I know there's ways I can improve. I know there's things I can do that'll make it better. Okay, so the very first ones I did, these were just such little scraps. And this is where I actually got my iron out because they were rough. Through all of the the crumpling, all of the twist, you know, all of the messiness, to the point where I ironed half of this, and I didn't iron them well. I want to make that very clear. I just did a rough ironing to get the worst of it out, because this is not ironed, and I don't even know if it's coming across exactly how wrinkly this is. This is so wrinkly, and then ironed on the side. Hilariously, the darkest ones I have were all black tea dyed. I even did coffee dyeing, nowhere near as dark. No idea what happened there. I don't know if it was just the amount of tea bags that I used. I don't know if it was the amount of time I kept it under, or in the tea. I don't know what exactly the situation was, but these are so much darker. So I have a few pieces of that. And like I said, these are just little scraps. I was just testing some stuff out, seeing what happened. Some of them have a bit more modeling than others. And because I didn't, I think because I didn't bake them, they didn't, and because it was natural, like just tea and coffee instead of Rit dye, they didn't shrink. I had kind of hoped they would, but they didn't. Okay, so these were with very hot tea. And then this one was when the tea had cooled down and it wasn't as piping hot. And this is the difference in darkness and tone. Will that help at all? No, absolutely not. Not even a tiny bit. So this is much more like tan or camel, and then these are like dark caramel. This is you might have burnt your caramel levels of dark. Versus like way too much milk or cream in your coffee. And I like both a lot. But like, this was the same exact batch of tea, just piping hot. Like I let it steep for, I don't even know how many bags I used. I was trying to use up, a former roommate had left a whole bunch of tea behind. And I don't really drink it, so I just was using up a bunch of it for this. Brewed a whole bunch of bags in like boiled water, turned it off, added the tea bags, let it steep for probably a good 20 minutes. It was still steaming hot and too hot to touch when I poured it over these scraps. But it was much cooler, but still hot when I added this. And I think that was it for the black tea. And I will keep these handy for comparison purposes. But then I came in with green tea. And it is a much subtler, and it is kind of a greeny shade to it, in my opinion. My little GT, so I would know that this was the green tea. I didn't remember to do this on all of them. I wish I had. But I did 3 little scraps of that, specifically green tea. Let me compare. So this was black tea, green tea. And it's closer to that, like, lighter tan camel, whatever, but with a greenish hint to it. It actually did seem to have a greenish tint. Or maybe it was just a cooler shade, I'm not sure. I think I only did those in green tea. I didn't do too much. Most of what I did was coffee, but these are where it just kind of got weird. Like, I expected the coffee to be the darkest. No. Okay, let's keep this train going. Black tea. Coffee. I might try to put some pictures to help out with this in case the lighting is just still not quite functioning right. I don't know what happened. Like, this is fine. Like, I like how this looks well enough. It's fine. This one was fine. There were some where, like I said, it just looked dirty, and we'll get to those in a moment. But I expected these to be so much darker than they ended up being. And I was just really, really surprised. Because it was hot coffee. And I tried to make sure I brewed quite a bit of it. I don't know if it was because these were some older beans. I found just like a little bit, you get to almost the end of it. It's already getting a little stale. You aren't sure about it. So this is where it just looks dirty, and I'm just disappointed. I don't know. It just looks dirty. I don't know if doing it in a lighter bath would like darken the bits that did end up being dark and fill in the rest more. Any advice anyone can give on this would be deeply appreciated. Because it just kind of looks grimy and not in an artful way. And one interesting thing that happened, it seemed like when I ran the iron over it, some of this, like even though it was weeks later, it seemed like it got darker in parts. Like the very delayed introduction of heat actually brought out some of these slight mottlings. And again, coffee, tea. Somebody explain, because I don't understand. So I ended up with a whole bunch of these, and they all I'm just not thrilled with how they turned out. This one especially, it just looks like I wiped down some very like dirty thing. I don't think it's coming across right, because as soon as I move it in front of all my lights, it just washes out. You know what, we might actually, no. Apparently the sun has moved into the worst possible place, but like they just look grimy. They don't look at all kind of what I was hoping for. And I'm not 100% sure the best thing to do to move forward with them. Yeah. That's it. That's what I got there. So any advice on, does it just need another coffee bath? Do I need to, I don't know what I need to do. So like I said, my oven doesn't work. I have a toaster oven that I use for most actual like cooking, but it's small. Like this would fit. this little thing would fit, but nothing else really would fit in there. So that isn't as much of an option as I would like for it to be. And I don't really know my neighbors enough to be like, hey, can I just bake some fabric in your oven for 20 minutes? So yeah, any advice? Maybe it is just, like using the iron as that bit of heat. I don't know. You guys let me know. Okay, we are wrapping up. I've got just a couple of things to wrap up this video, and then we're done. One of them is the facts. I have two. One of them is relevant. You might have heard a little bit about it with everything going on with the hurricane. And it is the Waffle House index for the danger level of a hurricane or a storm. And it's talked about in kind of a joking way, but it is an actual index, and it is genuinely respected as this is what people should follow, because it's a very good way of tracking how bad a storm is. So basically, Waffle House does not want to close for love or money. They will stay open as long as possible, unless the storm is very, very bad. So very respected people will use whether or not Waffle House is staying open as a measure for how bad a storm is. And there were a lot of locations in the path of this particular, I think it's Helen hurricane, that not only did they reduce their hours, they completely closed up. They boarded up the doors, and everyone was like, oh, it's it's on. Like, everyone definitely needs to evacuate. Like, that was, for a lot of people, their clue. We have to leave. Like, we can't just try to ride this out. So that is a very respected thing. It sounds very funny, but it is a legit and fascinating thing. So I don't know how they, what they use to determine it, but it is interesting. Another fact, a little bit more lighthearted. I'm trying to remember if there was an actual name for this, because I have a feeling there was. In 1948, in Idaho, there were a lot of issues where some displaced beavers had been messing with things close to I don't know the name of the town, but they'd been kind of hassling a bunch of people in this town, like affecting bridges, things that they shouldn't be into. And so the wildlife Department of Fish and Game wanted to relocate the beavers. And they're having a horrible time doing it. So their first methods were to just try to trap them, take them by vehicle out into the wilderness and leave them. It was stressing out the beavers horribly. Like, at one point they put them in cages. They would drive them out as far as they could go, because, you know, they're in the wilderness. There's only so many roads. They would get them as far as they could go. They would strap the boxes of beavers onto horses and donkeys and take them even further into the wilderness, which is just a hilarious mental picture. And try to do that. And again, the beavers would be very stressed. They wouldn't be eating. They wouldn't be settling in. So their other method, what actually ended up working to successfully relocate these beavers, was to drop them from parachutes. Or drop them from the sky with parachutes into the wilderness. And that was less stressful than the truck and donkey ride that they were doing. So it was just called the Beaver Drop in 1948. Just delightful mental pictures all the way around, especially when there's the happy ending of the beavers relocated, the people were happy. I also wanted to shout out some creators, some of the Flosstubes that I've been watching. Let me make this bigger because I am blind. Let's see. Some of the Flosstubes I've been watching, and I will put their channels in the description because some of them are spelled a little bit differently. Cinematic Stitches, lots of fun patterns, a nice mix of what they stitch. Wide-Eyed Stitching Child, PNW Crafter, Hecate's Needle, The Snitch Stitcher, Quirks and Stitches, which is generally, people might know her better from that. Sloppy Stitch Sloppy Stitchin' Sisters, sorry. Three Trails Stitchers, Britches Get Stitches, Adelaide Stitches, Accio Whip, and then some of the ones that I think are a bit more popular that everyone probably watches: Museum Stitcher, Seattle Stitcher, I think, Hathaway Stitchers. I keep trying to say Hathaway Sisters. Floss Boss and Cousins, of course. Wicked Cat Stitch. Some of my, like, standard Matrix Stitcher. I watch those, like, the second a lot of these people post, I will be on them. But these are some that I'd kind of discovered. This other list was some that I discovered this last month and was watching. And then lastly, there are two things. One of them is to hold myself accountable. I forgot to mention this in future plans. It's to hold myself accountable. I had found a free pattern. It was very, like, lovey-dovey. And I was going to make it for my partner. But I was like, it doesn't really fit us. It doesn't really fit me. So I started thinking, okay, I could tweak this. And by the time I was done with my tweaks, I had completely changed the pattern. So I might actually try to start to finish make my own pattern. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm holding myself accountable by mentioning it here. I'm hoping to have it. It's very simple. It's not going to be at all difficult or detailed or anything. It's going to be a very simple, small thing. But I'm stating it here so that by the end of October, I will hopefully have it. I doubt anyone else would want it, but if anybody does seem at all interested, I suppose I could maybe put it up on Etsy or something, but it's not going to be complex. Like I said, it's not going to be very many stitches. It's just going to be a little weird, morbid, lovey-dovey thing between my partner and I. So that's to hold me accountable. I also have another idea for a more involved thing, but I need to know if I can even make a simple pattern before I start, getting way too into something else. But the other idea is so good. I just don't know if I have the skill to pull it off, because I've never tried to do anything like that before. I have limited creativity, especially with visual things. And then lastly, so this is something I'd seen a couple other creators do. Let's see. The Diddy Stitcher and Hobbies and Hyperfocus. I've seen both of them do it. I'm sure there's a few other creators. They pull a tarot card and just kind of present it as, maybe I need this information. Maybe somebody else out there needs this right now. And I just thought that was a really fun idea, really cute idea. I have a whole bunch of decks, so I thought, let's do it. So I went ahead and I pulled a card for this month, or for today, rather. Maybe it's for this month. I don't know. This is a very cute little Happy Halloween tarot deck. Sony Graves. It's a very sweet little deck. So I drew the 8 of Cups, which maybe there's a project you're working on that you're just really disappointed in. You've tried it a couple times. You're frustrated. It's just not working out. Something about it is just not working. It's okay to step away from it. It's okay to say, this is not working for me right now. I'm going to give myself some space. I'm going to give myself some distance. I'm putting this away for now. It doesn't have to be forever, but this is just not working. And I need to know that that's okay. I need to understand that it's perfectly fine for it to not be all right. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. It just means that now is not the time for this. There will be a time later, and that's perfectly fine. Hopefully that helps somebody out there. I think it'll probably be good for me to keep in mind as well. Yeah, I think that's all I have. So this will wrap up my video for today. I still haven't figured out a good sign off, a good outro. So hopefully this will work. I'm really hoping the audio was okay for this. I didn't use, like I said, the headset that I had been using to help out with it. I don't know how good the audio is on my phone. I'm doing this all in one recording, so I don't know how much I'll be able to affect the volume. If it's bad, well, fingers crossed, because I don't know if I have it in me to re-film this. Thank you very, very much for joining me. I hope your September was wonderful. I hope you had a good time, whether you were focusing solely on samplers or other things. I hope your October is fantastic, whether you do get involved in spooky stitching or not. Even if you just take it easy and you don't get into any of that. I just hope that the next few weeks are really good for you. That you know that you are loved and appreciated. And that you find reasons to smile and keep going every day. Bye.